I'm fine, I'm fine. And then all of a sudden I started feeling not fine. A wash of just nervousness, and like everything in my body started going. My heart started going like 100 miles per hour, and I'm waving at the nurse. She comes over, I get off, I tell my mom I love her, and I hand off the phone. And I'm like, there's something happening. Not 2 seconds later, everything goes white. And then everything goes black, and I'm in this like nothing, like sea of nothing after all this panic. As soon as I started doing it and I was really good at it, I didn't want to do anything else. Like, it was awesome. You got to travel. I was in great shape. I got to do something that nobody else did. You just felt like Billy Badass out there, you know. I stuck with it for the longest time, just, you know, naive. I didn't really know what was going on. A few years back, I was working on a job and I was injured very severely. After I got out of the hospital, the company pretty much abandoned me, and I was like left to fend for myself on that one. And the worst part about it is it just kind of ruined a job that I really liked. Like, it was a job that I really enjoyed. Threw a whole different aspect on that.
For context, this is a monopole. Coaxial and hybrid lines run inside these towers, and it's not uncommon for climbers to access the interior through a port like this one. Climbers often go inside to reposition lines, allowing a rope to be lowered from the top to hoist additional lines for new equipment installations.
Business as usual. It was a monopole, 140 feet. It had a lot of carriers on it. It was overloaded, but it was pretty common to see. And, you know, with all those carriers, there was a lot of lines that were just kind of apexed up, and there was a big congestion. So we're using, you know, kind of a weight to guide it down through and feed the needle. We had a light on it, and we were taking turns. You know, a guy that was small enough to go in there would look and see and then pull the line down. And it was my turn. I go down in there and I'm looking, and what I see is what, you know, it looks like the rope's coming down. I tell my buddy, give me a little bit more rope, and I see it start twisting like that, and I know it's falling. So I run to the corner and I cover my head and my neck best I can, and I try to get out of there, but I can't fit through the porthole that quickly, so I just kind of hunker down, and the rope hits me a bunch. And I thought, well, that's not that bad, and as soon as I go to stand up, just pop me right in the back. Like, just a sucker punch, knocked the wind out of me. Yeah, basically what I got hit with was a pretty heavy chunk of metal that we improvised to, you know, do our job, that fell from 40 feet above me with a little bit of rope weight behind it to propel it down. I crawl out of the hole. I go and sit on the fence for a minute, you know, trying to get myself back to normal. One of the guys that was on the crew was volunteer firefighter, paramedic. He goes, feels around. Oh yeah, you definitely got some broken ribs, you know. I was like, well, I can't do anything about broken ribs. So I didn't think anything of it. I didn't feel that bad. Went back to work, working for 45 minutes to an hour. And I started feeling strange here. And my gut started feeling weird. So I talked to the ground guy. I was like, let's go to the hospital real quick. You know, like, just check out. And the closest hospital out in Bufu was about 30, 40 minutes out. So we're driving, we're joking the whole time. You know, it's fine. But every time I'm laughing, I'm feeling a little bit worse, you know, and just trying to persevere. Anyway, we get there, we show up. It's a packed ER. I walk up to the lady, and as soon as I tell her what happened, all of a sudden I got VIP. I'm first in line. I'm over in this thing, and I'm like, for broken ribs? Like, this is stupid. Okay. We show up, and all of a sudden there's, you know, like, there's the scans going on. I'm leaking fluid. I don't know what fluid is leaking, all this stuff, and more doctors and more doctors. I get my mom on the phone finally, you know, so I can explain stuff to her before I got into surgery. And then, you know, surgery, after all of those things, it seemed like we were out of the weeds, and they went in laparoscopically, and they went and they sewed up. What had happened was my 3 ribs had been smacked by that piece of metal, and they lacerated my spleen almost in half. And I was bleeding internally for that entire time I was working, thinking I was okay. And that was not okay. And then all that time driving there and this and that. And I remember calling my boss at the time and being, you know, because we were a family, you know, call him, you know, out of respect. I'm like, this happened. Do we have our workman's comp paid up? You know, he's like, oh, no workman's comp on this one. He's like, we'll just pay it. I'm like, okay, bet, you know, we'll just go. Well, come to find out, all that surgery and everything, turns out it's like $80,000 in medical bills, and the cash payout that he would have been able to pay was like $8,000. Oh, I got this. Don't worry about it. And I believed him because it's a family. This was the best job I've ever freaking had. These were the guys that I work with. We all trust each other with our lives every day, and we have fun doing it, and we make money. And I didn't think anything of it. But then months later down the line, when it's like, oh, hey, they're like hounding me about these bills. Oh, yeah, we got it. All of a sudden, we all get hit with 1099. And that was not our normal thing. Oh, no, that happened when you were 1099 because it was towards the end of the year. And now all of a sudden, I'm stuck with $80,000 in medical bills and debt collectors trying to come after a person that doesn't so much as have like a steady bank account set up. So that kind of threw a different light on the tower industry for me. And yeah, it really sucks because I like the job, you know.
How did it feel being abandoned from that company after all that you did for them and feeling like you guys were a family and everything?
The worst part about it was I liked them so much that I still went back and worked for like another 6 to 8 months for them, just thinking, you know, like little candle of hope that like it might happen, but it didn't. I had another opportunity to go to another company, and yeah, it was pretty much the same thing, you know, another scab company taking advantage. It worked out good for like about like, you know, another 2 years. But, you know, when it all really came down to it, we all got ripped off about $5,000 to $10,000 on a gig. And then the company absolved and, you know, the whole normal thing. So, yeah, after that second company didn't, you know, pan out, I looked into a couple other, like, more legitimate companies, and money wasn't there. And
so you got no workman's comp whatsoever, no insurance, no nothing?
Absolutely none.
Looking back, do you think the accident was preventable, and if so, how?
It was absolutely preventable because I don't even think that a person should have been in there in the first place. And especially the fact that you couldn't fit in there and you couldn't fit a hard hat through that hole. Like that hole, even if you had a pencil and you tried to jimmy it, you're in there without a hard hat. That's not a place for a person. Like, it's just not. And plus the fact that like there was so much congestion with that amount of lines for that tower, having way too many carriers on it poses way too many things that could go wrong. Because you can't add more lines, but yet that's your job that day. And now you're dodging through all of these ones that were just poorly put up there with no care in the world. And yeah, this is the scenario that happens. You know, it's a 1 in a million, but it happened to me and it sucks.
Do you feel the tower climbing industry does enough to protect climbers?
I don't believe that the tower industry really is looking out for the tower hands whatsoever, because it goes through so many sets of hands after the jobs are doled out that the standard isn't there at all. Like, there's no safety protocol on that stuff. It's just pretty much the word of that company that you're working for that might be so far down the ladder that they're just trying to get jobs done. And that's the plain and simple of it. The list is endless. Out in Tennessee, you have Frankenstein towers that are made out of like 5-6 different towers throughout the years and are just cobbled together with areas without pegs, and then somebody had the foresight to drill a bolt into the thing so you had something to hold on to when you mountain climbed up this weird little spot. It's unnecessary. Like, just make the climbing surface maybe a little bit safe, you know. People have to go up there. It's not just theoretical on blueprints.
If you could say one thing to the company that abandoned you, what would that be?
If I were to say something to that company that abandoned me, I would say I wish they would have done things right and done me right, because we had a good thing and we were making money. If the industry was right now, I'd be back in a heartbeat because I'm good at it. But yeah, once you're done dirty that many times, you can't go back to it. It doesn't make any sense. Like, it just don't.
Walking around town in a place I've never been in, deep, deep Manhattan. I recall it all, your dress and how it falls, you rolling in deep satin. Won't you call a cab, mister, won't you pay my tab? There's some boys on the curb, half making, and I